Welcome, Caps fans. This is a special episode, a family Caps recap and precap. A recap of the game yesterday against the Minnesota Wild, February 26th, and a precap of the game tomorrow against the Chicago Blackhawks, February 28th. So we saw last night a bunch of the same old with the Washington Capitals. My prediction held true with the game. I called it 3-2. And the Caps also let up a first period goal again, which means they are now negative for the goal differential in the first period.
Yeah, another slow start and another parade to the box early on for them. There were some questionable calls. Let's get that out of the way, and I think also some non-calls early in that game. But the Caps, as before, they came back. They played very well the second half of the game and were able to go ahead late in that game and get the win. But again, it's a little bit troubling. They're giving up the first goal, and they're parading to the box early, and it's costing them.
Yeah, they didn't come out too strong in the first period. Not surprising. Letting up the goal, went to the box 3 times. It felt like we were always down a man in the first period. The third, they came back pretty strong in the third, but it took a long time for them to actually get everything together and start playing and connecting. There were a lot of players that were letting me down last night. I noticed a lot of the puck control. There was not a lot, especially with Dmitry Orlov. He was a little bit disappointing within the first 2 periods and the third period. If you would have told me he would have been the third star of the game in that first period, I would have been shocked.
One thing we did see yesterday, the top 6 put right back in the order they had been in most of the year, where they had played well. You had the top line reassembled with Backstrom, Ovechkin, and TJ Oshie.
Yeah, and it looked a lot more natural to them. With the changed lines, it takes a little bit of an adjustment period, but it looked like last game they were actually comfortable with their play for the most part, despite our slow start. Even Ovi commented on the slow start yesterday and said that this isn't how we should be playing, and this isn't how we can play in the playoffs and expect to win. But let's talk about Brooks Orpik getting 6 points in 6 games after coming back from that long-term injury. He's right now tied with his season record for goals on a season with 3.
Maybe fresh legs after being out all that period of time.
Maybe.
But Brooks has been playing very well for us. And it comes at a good time because this morning we learned, I didn't even know it yesterday when we taped the precap, that John Carlson's out. And it looks like he's going to be out 3 to 4 weeks with an injury. Getting Orpik back this week was a godsend, really.
It was.
There have been a lot of defensive issues. I think that we're mixing up the pairings a lot and things like that due to a lot of injuries and illnesses and things. And there were a lot of defensive breakdowns last night. You can't be too mad at Holtby for how he performed last night. He did a hell of a job. The second goal, he did get walked right in on. He had no support on that, so you can't really blame him for that one. He had a lot of amazing saves last night. I think he did a really great job.
Yeah, and that seems to be a running theme. We are letting him down a lot, and you can tell he's starting to get really frustrated. Well, not starting to, but he is perpetually frustrated with how the team is taking care of the defensive zone. It seems like we're just leaving him out to dry for the most part.
Yeah, I think that they're relying too much on him to bail them out. And I think they play a little bit tighter game when Grubauer's out there. I don't know. It's not maybe a knock on Grubauer, but I think that they seem to have this tendency to tighten up a little bit when he's there. They know that Holtby's not back there to bail them out.
Yeah.
And I think they play more solidly in front of Grubauer. At least that's the way it's been lately. Another development this morning is that Brooks Lake has been placed on waivers. That effectively clears about almost $1 million in cap room, which will allow Jay Beagle to be activated. We're hearing that is imminent. And with John Carlson placed on long-term injured reserve, it just made the trade deadline just a little bit more interesting.
It did. So now we got Chorney back in the lineup for at least the next 3 to 4 weeks, which I'm pretty happy about. I was sad to see that he was going to be a scratch once Orpik came back in. But he's been playing well, and he really deserves that roster spot.
Yeah, he got beat on that second goal against the Wild last night, but he has been playing well overall, and I think he's a pretty solid contributor back there on the blue line, and we don't really miss a whole lot, when and we do miss Carlson being out, but we don't miss a whole lot when he's inserted for any of the the bottom four guys out there. So it will be interesting. I don't know what Brian McClellan is looking to do the next 3 to 4 weeks. We're kind of down a right-handed defenseman. We need that right-hand shot. But they were looking to maybe get a bottom six guy, maybe get a third or fourth line guy to bolster this roster. Do they go out and do one? Do they do both? I don't know. Maybe they stand pat. Initially, I wanted them to stand pat. I didn't want them to mess with the chemistry of this team. But sometimes injuries dictate some of these decisions.
Yeah. So
tomorrow we have the Chicago Blackhawks, the second best team in the NHL. They, a team with a very good power play like the Caps, kind of average on the penalty kill, but a very strong team. And Stan Bowman he's got all his chips on the table. He's all in. Just within the last several days, they went out and they got Andrew Ladd. They got him back. He played for them for several years, up until about 5 years ago. And they also went out last night and they got Dale Weiss and Tomas Fleischmann.
Yep.
Stan Bowman is going for it. There's no question about it. He's laying all his cards on the table and he's telling everybody to bring it.
And they were having a discussion with him, and he said that he's going all in for a cup this year, and it's looking like the Blackhawks, maybe they're going to begin a rebuilding phase after this season. They still have plenty of talent on the team, but the prospects are dwindling. They don't have a lot of guys deep in their team after all their contracts are up, after all the rental players are gone. But lately what I've noticed is that the Blackhawks, I wouldn't say they're struggling, but they're in kind of a low phase. They've lost 5 of their last 7 games. Obviously, the Stadium Series game did not go their way. They lost 6-1 against the Minnesota Wild. The Wild came out, and they absolutely dominated. And they lost against Nashville at home 3-1 last game, shutting out all their stars. I think Brent Seabrook was the only guy to score on their team. So we'll see. They have had a lot of time off. They had 3 days off before the Stadium Series, 3 days off after the Stadium Series, and they had a 2-day break before this game that we're about to play against them.
I think it's a wild card game because, not only that, and you think maybe they're due for a good game, but then they're going to be inserting, they've got Ladd, who's a recent addition, and they're inserting Dale Weiss and Tomas Fleischmann. I presume they play tomorrow. I presume Corey Crawford's going to be in goal. But when you add guys like this to the lineup, and you always have an adjustment phase.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Blackhawks obviously are not doing tremendously well as of late, but neither are the Caps, so it really is kind of a toss-up. Just depends on how both teams come out tomorrow. It's going to be an interesting game to watch. It's, 12:30?
Yes. Yeah, it's a matinee. So
and the Caps sometimes have problems with matinee games.
That's true, but the Caps also seem to match up well against the Blackhawks.
They do.
So it's a balance. One thing I was thinking about with the acquisition of Mike Weber, maybe the training staff and and Brian McClellan knew something that we didn't about John Carlson, because all of a sudden we pick up an 8th defenseman and we're thinking, okay, well, great, we have room for 2 injured D, and we still have like 2 more NHL caliber defensemen that we can pull up. Do you think maybe that injury on John Carlson earlier in the season wasn't addressed the way it should have been, and maybe we're picking up Mike Weber as insurance for that?
It's hard to say, really. You'll recall when Brooks Orpik went down, he was day-to-day, and next thing you know, he's out for 40 games. So I really don't know what was going on there. I do know they wanted some depth. They wanted to go with 8 guys. Part of me says that they didn't really know about John Carlson. This was more of a depth move in case something like this happens. But they really, right now, with Carlson down, do not have to go out and get another or another defenseman. Yeah. They have to, basically, they can go with 7 guys. They've been with 7 guys all year. They should be fine, inserting Chorney into the lineup and, having the mix they went with last night for a long period of time. But it's hard to say. You never know what's in the decision-making. Sometimes you just don't even know what goes on in the locker room when they want to ship a guy out.
Right.
Unless it hits the news like you had with Evander Kane.
Right.
I'm hopeful that with acquiring Weber that the defense realizes that they really need to compete for their spots and they step up their game a little bit. I definitely think that they need to realize that they really need to push themselves at this point.
I agree. And it's kind of a message to the team that they need to play more physically, because it shows that we might not be afraid to put anyone on as a healthy scratch for a game just to get another physical guy like Mike Weber, Brooks Orpik in the lineup. It's one of those things. Maybe we acquired him so that we can start playing with more physicality in front of the net. Like like we've talked about again and again and again, but we cannot drive this point home enough. So
yeah, and this morning apparently during the practice, I read that Weber was inserted and kind of rotated in as the 7th guy. I don't know if he's going to play tomorrow. I would assume they might want him to have a few extra practices with the team. We don't even know who they're going to go with. Is it going to be Holtby or Grubauer? I think there's an argument to be made that you could start Grubauer. He started against the Kings, played very well, and got the win. But we'll see. I mean, it's going to be something that Coach Trotz is going to have to, take a look at over the next day or so.
Yeah,
Grubauer definitely handles pressure pretty well. So I trust him if he would be in net tomorrow.
He's and also, I mean, every time we've put him out as a relief goalie, he's played fantastic. Grubauer, he also comes back and has 2 almost comeback wins against the Dallas Stars and the Montreal Canadiens. We really picked it up in the 3rd period, and maybe it's the team saying, "Oh, hey guys, we can't rely on Holtby right now, so let's play better." Even though I think they could rely on Grubauer a little bit more, he deserves more credit. But anyway. What are you guys' predictions for tomorrow's game?
All right, I'll start. And my predictions yesterday went wrong. I mean, I did predict a win. I think I predicted Ovi would get a goal, but that was where it kind of stopped. I'm going to predict a 4-2 win. I'm going to predict that TJ Oshie is on the board tomorrow, gets a goal. And I'm also going to predict that Kuzi gets 2 points, which is my prediction almost every game.
Yeah. I'm going to predict that the Caps are going to win 4-3 tomorrow. I think Backstrom is finally going to get a goal. He's been in a little bit of a dry spell recently. I think that he's going to get the 2nd goal, and it's kind of weird, but that's how I feel right now. I think Alex Ovechkin's going to get the game-winning goal, and it's going to come with 6 minutes left in the game.
Ooh. I will say that the Caps will win 3-1 tomorrow. I'm hopeful that they will play better in the first. I know that TJ Oshie had a little bit of a hard time last game, so I'm hoping that he'll come out ready to play. Hopeful that he'll get a goal, and I'm hoping that hopefully we'll play the full 60.
Okay, one more prediction. Do we get the first goal tomorrow? Yes or no?
I'm gonna say yeah. I'm gonna say we're scoring inside the first 10 minutes of the first period.
I'm going to say no.
The streak continues, according to Kaylee.
I don't see it.
I think they're going to get the monkey off their back. They're going to score the first goal. I don't know who it's going to come from, but as long as the guy's wearing a Caps jersey, I'm fine with it. So it should be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for tuning in with us. We will see you guys after the Washington Capitals Chicago Blackhawks game.
Let's go, Caps!